G'day guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back for another episode of Wasteland Survival. Okay, so just gonna start where we left off in the last episode, and I would really like to get this thing done so that I can actually start building this thing in survival. So there's just a few things I want to change. I mentioned this last episode, but I want to kind of shallow out this roof so when you're kind of walking down these stairs you can actually see the train. Another thing I've really been thinking about is this whole docking arrangement. Yeah, I don't know if I really like it. I remember when I was testing all this stuff, the blast door blocks seem to be like quite, yeah, like a lot closer than what this is. So I think I'm gonna go with that idea. So let's just get rid of all of this stuff on the side of the tram and all of these little cover walls, and then we can put in our blast door blocks and hopefully build something interesting around them. Alright, so let's get all of this stuff deleted. Alright, well, everything is gone, so the only problem with these blast door blocks is, let's grab one out. I'm going to need to place them like that, but obviously I can't because, yeah, there's nothing to attach them to. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to be careful because if I use, let's say, like I need some sort of block to support them, but if I use a block like this, then it's going to get pretty close to the tram. So I think my only option here is to go for something like this. So let's maybe go from about there, and then, hey, why won't it let me place it? Oh, there we go. Is mirror mode on? Good. Alright, so, and then on top of that, we'll place our blast door blocks. Place them on top. And then maybe on the ends here, we can put in some of these blocks. Just some 2x1 tips. Except the tram's in the way, so... Right, so tram is out of the way, so let's build something that kind of hides this gap here. So I'll do the same as what I did on the other side and just put in one of these, and I think that should be pretty good. Now, in order to hide this gap, I think that's going to be pretty easy. Oh wait, I didn't put this one in here. Oh, that's right, it wouldn't let me. And then, oh yeah, also down here we can put in one of these little sharp tips. And one on the other side as well. Actually, this one, I might just place it there. That should be fine. Right, we'll go with that. Okay, so, like I was saying, this gap here, it's pretty easy to get rid of that, I think. So, in order to make the transition from the tram to the station even easier, maybe what we can do is put in some half blocks. Because if I put in the blocks there, they'll obviously interfere. So I need to put in some railings like this. So how many blocks have we got here? Let's go with 3 on the side, and then we'll go for 3 without a railing there, and then all the way along here I'll just put those blocks there. So now there's a bit of a smoother transition across this whole thing, and then if I move the tram forward, I'm pretty sure it is going to look even better as well. Yeah, that looks much better. It is so much cleaner. I could move the tram forward a little bit. This was another problem I was kind of facing, is I don't know how to kind of stop this tram. One thing I do know though is the tram itself is probably way too fast. So I am going to... Well, it's not that it's fast, it's the fact that it just gets there from 0 to nothing in, yeah, no time at all. So I think I'm going to wind the power down to, let's say 25%, because if you have a look, this thing does actually accelerate pretty good. So even that is probably a bit too much. Yeah, let's maybe try... Let's go for like 10% and see what that's like. Alright, so that's 10%. So, that's not bad. Like, it can still... I think it'll still be able to get up to its top speed. But but it will just take a little bit longer. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so let's put this thing back into its station. Alright, so here we are back at the station. Alright, so one thing I would like to do is I would like to put a connector on the bottom of this thing. So I was thinking probably place one there. And that would mean on the other side over here, I don't really need any resources to go through this connector though, so I'm not really too concerned about that. So we could place a connector there, but in order for those connectors to reach, the tram is basically going to slam into the wall. So I guess I've got two options. I can lengthen, well, I can just space the connector out, not lengthen this because it wouldn't really matter. I could space it out, or I could curve this around so that the tram doesn't hit it. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it just being a sharp edge like that. Although I could try it and then see what happens. Okay, so I went ahead and redesigned this whole thing. I actually got to use these new blocks that they added last update, so yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, even with this added, I don't know, it's like only half a block spacing because that's the only thing that actually looked any decent. It's still pretty close to hitting the wall, so I don't know if I really want to go with this, at least, you know, without spacing this thing out, and then we can probably go from there. Okay, so let's get started with this. Right, so I was thinking of placing something like a beam block behind it, because the problem with these connectors is they've got this, yeah, but I guess I could put it that way as well. So let's have a look and see what blocks we can use. So we could go for this block here, and let's see what that looks like with a connector on it. Looks, yeah, I suppose it doesn't look too bad. I thought it would look way worse than it does. Thing is, I don't think the train is going to hit it either. Let's see how close it actually gets to it. Okay, and let's have a look. Yep, perfect. So this part clears this bit, and it connects. The only reason I want this is to kind of charge the tram, so yeah, I guess we can go with that option. Now, in terms of actually slowing the tram down once it gets to the end, somebody had a good suggestion, and that was to, hang on, let me get this thing off the connector. Right, as I was saying, somebody had a good suggestion of using wheel suspension to actually stop the tram itself. But unfortunately, I think the only way to do it is to basically add the wheel suspension here. So let's go ahead and add in some wheel suspension. Okay, so we've got our wheel suspension. Now, where they are at the moment, they'll actually interact with those wheels. But if I place them down by one block, they're not going to touch those wheels. And the only other way I could do it is from the bottom. Now, this works really, really well. So it's just a major bummer that you have to look at all this stuff. So yeah, I don't know, maybe I could get some small grid wheels to interact with these, but then I'd have to use a rotor or something like that. So yeah, it is a fantastic idea, and it actually does work really well, especially since you can adjust this suspension strength so that it comes to a nice soft stop. So yeah, it is a great idea, but I just don't know how I would cover these. I just kind of wish that if it was one block lower, I would definitely go for this idea. Alright, let's get rid of these things and then move on to the next thing. Okay, put all the blocks back, so alright, let's get started. Like I was saying before, I would like to modify this area quite a bit. So I think to start with, I'd like to just, you know, chop out a whole level. and then see what it looks like at that point. But it looks like we have just regular half blocks here. Okay, let's just go one whole level. So I think what I may do is get rid of all this stuff here, especially the stuff on the bottom, and then just extend the roof out like so. And then on the side we simply just put in something like this. So we could go a whole row of those and a whole row of these. So it's not too bad, but the one good thing about this way is it actually kind of lines up with this. I would like to have a design that comes out here, but then it doesn't really match this roof here. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for that. The other thing I'd like to change is maybe we can dress this these little I have no idea what you call them, but this part this part I would like to dress up. So let's get rid of all the blocks on the side of this thing. Okay, so I've gotten rid of as many blocks as I'm comfortable with without the whole thing falling on the ground in a heap. So let's get this thing started. So I think we'll need, yeah, so we'll start with this block and then we'll just work our way all the way up. Alright, so yeah, I think that looks fairly decent. And then on the sides we can just put in some of these and then some of these as well. And I think that looks a little bit better than it did before. Just need to fix the color there, put in a few blocks here and there, but apart from that it actually looks pretty good. Now another thing I think I want to change is when you're actually walking through here, you can't really see too much unless you're like looking through here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these blocks at the top, and we're just going to go ahead and replace all of these with some form of railing. Alright, so in the middle I'm just going to put like a double railing. So we have railing double. It's hard to see which one's the actual double one when you're in mirror mode. That one there, and then a corner one here, like that, and then just a diagonal railing like that. And then yeah, that's pretty much going to be the top of the stairs. So it's probably a little bit different to the bottom, but at the same time I think it actually looks pretty cool because yeah, you can actually see the train through these railings. Okay, so now we've got that bit sorted out. I am actually really tempted to knock this roof down by one whole block everywhere. But I don't know if I really want to commit to that decision yet. But in the meantime, I do have another idea to kind of dress this place up just a tiny bit more. What I was thinking is I would really like to run these blocks here, these beam blocks, all the way across from here to over here. But then I've got to somehow figure out how to get them to kind of join up there. So I think instead what I will do is just going to grab a 2x1 base and a tip, and then let's spin those around and then place them underneath here. And then from there we can just grab one of these regular old beam blocks and then put that all the way over to the edge. And I might just get rid of these two blocks here and then just put it there. There is a block behind there, so it should still be airtight. And I think that honestly looks really good. Okay, so the next thing, I might actually steal this yellow here and actually see how it looks up against these railings. Okay, and it's not too bad of a shade of yellow. It's probably maybe even just a little bit too bright. So maybe we can like dull it down. I like the vibrancy, but maybe we can turn the value down a bit and make it a bit of a lighter yellow. Alright, let's see what it looks like in this color. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. You can see it really has a dirty, gritty texture to it. Yep, that is perfect, I think, except for the fact that I miscolored a few blocks. Alright, so now I would like to get a railing that starts from this point. So we'll obviously just need a straight railing for this one. Right, let's try this again. So one of those, one of 2x1 right, I think I need. So go like that, and then you actually spin it around, which was, yeah, I wasn't expecting that. And then I believe here we need a left, except the tram needs to move out of the way. That's fine, I can kind of deal with that not being there for the moment. Let's color this block in, got this color again, and then thanks to Keen Software and the last update, we actually have a whole bunch of railings that can perfectly contour all of these edges. So, well, except for that one because there's a train in the way. Is this a half block? No, it's not. Alright, let's place our railings in here. Might as well just get the straight ones over and done with. So, good thing is now we've got these half railings once again. Another awesome thing about this update. So we can put those railings there, which we wouldn't have been able to do before. And one of those. And then I think I need a left, which will be this one. We'll place those there like that. So, yeah, I actually think that looks really, really good. It would be nice though if I could have a catwalk around here, but obviously there is no such thing as a curved catwalk, so we can't really do that. But yeah, that would actually be pretty cool as well. Okay, so I think the next thing I want to do is maybe something a little bit more fun, and I'd like to figure out what I'm going to put underneath here. I'd like to put some orange lights here so that it kind of lights up the bottom of the train and everything like that. I think it would look pretty cool. So okay, well, I've taken the liberty of removing all of the blocks that sit behind these beam blocks upstairs. So what I would like to do is put some sort of lighting underneath here, just so it kind of shines through and it looks really interesting. Now I'm really tempted to use the same thing that I did in the crew quarters, and what I was thinking is putting in some of these light panels here. So I think what I'll do though is I'll just run them all the way across the bottom here. Now the only problem with this is there's like, yeah, I don't know, 38 of these things. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to go for PCU. So yeah, it looks pretty good like that. And you know what? I am going to move these batteries because, yeah, they're kind of getting in the way. Much better. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll change the color of these lights to be the same accent color as it is there, and we'll see how we go and see how that looks. So yeah, that actually looks pretty decent. I would actually like to have a little bit of light here. So I don't know, I might increase that, but it is pretty bright the way it is. Now the question is, well, actually first I'd like to just clean up this little part here. So I'm going to delete this block, this one, and then just try and join this up here. I might have to get rid of this one too. Alright, and Maybe I can do something similar to what I've done over here, use the same type of blocks. Alright, so let's try this out. I still think that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's that one other little small bit done. So I think now I got to figure out what I want to place underneath. Actually, no, there is another thing that I wanted to do. So I was thinking with these tracks, is this train back as far as it can go? It kind of is. Right, let me see how far I can delete these blocks. So what I was thinking with these tracks is they do look kind of boring being, you know, just regular cubed blocks. So on the side here, what I was thinking is I could change these blocks here. So for this side, we could probably go for... So I'm thinking about using these blocks all the way along the side, but to kind of transition from that, we'll have to use a block like this. Yeah, we'll just put it there for now, and then I might move it back a bit later, but I'll have to move the tram forward to do that. It's very strange. This block, for whatever reason, won't change colour. Unless my mouse is broken or something. Anyway, let's get rid of all of these blocks. That should do. And then replace them with these blocks. And there we go. Fantastic. So I think that looks even more interesting still. I do want to move this back at least one block just to check it out and see what it looks like. Okay, so now that that is moved back, I can go ahead and place in my blocks like I had planned to. Maybe instead of that one, I might use this one. Yeah, that looks so much better. And then let's fill the gap. Fantastic. Yeah, that looks absolutely killer. I'm really happy with that and the way it all fits together over there. Yeah, so far I think that looks pretty good. So what are we going to do in the middle underneath these wheels? So I think the only real block I can get rid of is these blocks down here, and then I've got to replace them with something else. So yeah, I wonder if actually would a half block squeeze underneath that wheel. Well, that's kind of a half block. Let's see if the train actually goes over that without any issues. Okay, well, it seems to be going over it without any problems. So I suppose with the floor, what that means is I can have I don't know, I could have a half beam block up here and then another block's worth of spacing down here. Or I could just have, yeah, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Alright, so after a lot of deliberation and a little bit of testing, I think I know what I'm going to do. So I was planning on maybe getting rid of this block and then replacing it with one of these blocks, but as you can see, the wheel kind of hits it and I don't know what that's going to do to the tram, and I can't be bothered to redesign the whole thing just to make it look good. So instead I've opted to place the blocks down here. I could even get rid of this block and, you know, put in some half blocks underneath that, and that would clear the wheel, but then you've got these gaps in the wall, so don't really know if that will work too well. Like, in terms of aesthetics, I think physically it should be fine, but yeah, I think it would look bad, so that's why I'm not going down that route. But I mean, maybe it wouldn't look too bad there being, you know, little, I don't know, dips in the side of the rails. Then it makes it look a bit more interesting, maybe. But I don't know, it's just not my style. So I'll go ahead and I'll place these blocks all the way down the center. And then underneath here, I'm going to try just some half beam blocks. Okay, so I actually quite like that. It doesn't look too bad. The only thing is I'm not going to be able to use... Well, look, I mean, you could get away with using these light panels all the way along to the end of the track, which I think is like 250, maybe 300 blocks long. I don't even know how long it is, but it's pretty long. You could probably get away with that if this was the only thing in your world. But since this whole world, you know, is already at like, I don't know, it's pretty big and my computer struggles to run it as it is, I think adding, you know, 200 lights is probably not going to help things. So I need to find a way to put lights down here but not make it consume a boatload of PCU. Okay, so I guess the only problem I have here is the fact that everything here is like a half block. So I can't attach lights to the wall, I can't attach it to the side of this block, and I also can't attach it to, yeah, this kind of half beam block here. So I guess there's like a couple of things I could do. So I could just make the bottom of this thing outright flat, but I do kind of like this shape. I think it is a little bit interesting. And since, well, okay, so I guess one option is I could just get rid of the entire layer and just replace it with these big ones here, and it would kind of be sticking out. So I don't really like that design. I like it how it's kind of flush. But I guess since we are trying to save a little bit of PCU, maybe at intervals of like 10 blocks, I can go ahead and put in a design such as this. So let's get rid of all these blocks here, and I kind of want to just step it up into a flat piece. So we'll place those there like that, and then just put in a light armor block, and then from there place in one of those beam blocks, and then just a 2x1 base on either side of that. So every 10 blocks we do something like that, and then put some sort of accent light there. So if I turn my lights off. So yeah, I think, I don't know if every 10 blocks will kind of be enough, but what I will do is I'll put down probably 3 of these 10 blocks apart, and then see how it looks and the light distribution is, and then if it's not good enough we can kind of move them closer together. But the further away they are, I think the better it will be, at least in terms of PCU. Maybe not looks, but yeah, definitely PCU. Alright, so here we go. Here's what it looks like when they're 10 blocks apart in the middle. So I've set these to be their maximum radius, which is 10 meters, and obviously the same color as everything else. And I think the light distribution here is certainly pretty good because we've got these things, but even over here it's not too bad. Like, it kind of doesn't reach these couple of blocks in the middle. So maybe I could shorten it a bit, although I kind of need to make it in the same sort of pattern as the roof lights and these lights here. So maybe I will put one of these lights for every 2 of these, if that makes sense. So I think the best thing to do here would be to, and that would actually close up the gap a bit. I think I would use a bit more PCU, but I think it would look better. So what I'm going to do is move this to the same point as this light, and then every second one of these lights I'm going to put in a light down on the floor. So I'll do that for a couple and we'll see how it looks. Okay, well, I do believe I have found the perfect range. So it turns out the distance between this light and then this one is actually pretty good for the coverage on the floor. So the only block that's kind of obscured is this one here in the center, but apart from that it looks really nice. So yeah, the only problem is that to actually implement this across the entire blueprint is going to take me forever. So that part I'll probably do off camera, but yeah, I think so far that looks really, really good. We have all these interesting shapes going on. Got the docking fully reworked, and I think it looks and works 10 times better. Although one thing I think I might change again is the color of these railings. I just don't know if I like this color. I still think it is pretty bright, so let's maybe dull it down a little bit and see what it looks like a little bit darker. Alright, so I think I've settled on a color. I'm gonna go with this one, which is basically this color here. So it's kind of an orange, I guess you could say. Well, a little bit more orange than it is yellow, and it's just gone really dark. So I think from a distance it looks much better than this really bright yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and change everything that is supposed to be that color to this color, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, and there we go. So that is what everything looks like with the railings now a little bit darker. I am kind of really tempted to get rid of these railings behind here. Let's just quickly get rid of these and see what that looks like, because they do kind of stick out a little bit too far. Yeah, I think that actually looks pretty good. And then maybe as well I could actually make some of these black. Now the thing is, with battered armor you can't actually make black, because what it ends up being is the same color as everything else. So if I change it to that, it ends up like kind of a grey. So that's kind of a bummer. So the only thing I could do is just make it like a gloss black, or maybe we can choose another skin. Yeah, so we could go for a color like that, although it doesn't really match those, but it would be nice to have like kind of the black, you know, black yellow, black yellow, black yellow. So what does it look like if I do that? I think it actually looks quite good, to be honest. Even though it's a different skin, it actually does look quite good. Maybe I could tone down the black a little bit, so let's try that. Okay, so I've toned down the black just a little bit. As you can see, this is like fully black, and this is just like a little bit less black. And I think it fits in a little bit nicer with the dull tone of everything else. So we'll just go ahead and change those two. And yeah, so I think that looks awesome. I'm actually really happy with how this whole thing has turned out as well. It's actually, you know what? It's a shame that the train is going to be parked here and then hiding all of this stuff. It's actually turned out quite interesting, at least at the bottom here. So now, a while ago I mentioned that I was thinking about moving this roof down by one block. So let me bring the tram back and I'll kind of show you why I want to do that. Okay, so the thing is, the room is already quite wide as it is, and then, you know, we've got what, like 2 blocks worth of spacing on top of this thing. Let me just get rid of these. Let's place, yeah, 2 blocks. So I've got nearly 3 blocks worth of space above the train, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, it just kind of looks a little bit too tall. So maybe what I will do is go ahead and actually chop this roof off. But before I do that, let's actually make it daylight so that when I do chop the roof off, I can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's what it basically looks like, but obviously one block lower. So what I decided to do here with this kind of section here is I wanted that curve. Well, I still wanted the ability to be able to actually see the train from here. And this kind of section here doesn't really obstruct any of the view, so I think it's about as far back as I'd like it to go. I could probably make it go back maybe one more block and then it would be, you know, almost invisible. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it still looks pretty good. I could potentially move it forward, but nah, I think it actually looks pretty good where it is. Okay, so the only thing I need to do now is actually go ahead and put in some lights on the side here for when you walk up. Maybe we'll put them vertically for a change. I always seem to put these things horizontally, no matter where I'm placing them, so maybe this will be a nice change of pace. Alright, so I've gone ahead, I've set the radius for these to be 10 meters and then have an offset of 5 meters. So if I'm not mistaken, then the light source should pretty much be coming from right about this point here for every one of those lights. So I think it looks pretty evenly distributed. We have a nice little shadow here. Would really like to get some orange lights in here somehow, but don't know how I'm going to do that. So alright, now we can put the lights on the roof here. Okay, so I've set the radius for these to be 10 meters as well. I'm actually wondering if that's a little bit too bright, because I mean usually the stuff I have around my base at least is always really dim. So this station I think looks pretty good. So what I might do is just reduce the radius of these stair lights and those roof lights up there. Alright, so I just went ahead and reduced them to like 8.5 meters. And I think it looks a little bit better. So we have some little dark patches here, so maybe we can put some light panels there. Don't know what I'm going to do about this whole area here. I could kind of dress it up with something, but yeah, I haven't really thought about that quite yet. Another thing I think I could do is maybe we could put a little design kind of outside this area here. So let's get rid of some of these blocks. Okay, so yeah, something like that, and then just go ahead and change the color of these things to like the dark grey, and maybe I could extend it to up here. I'm not sure if that would actually look any good though. Yeah, it kind of does. Well, actually no, I think I should change the color of this top layer. Alright, so that's just the top layer done. Let's see what happens if I color in just that bottom little layer there. Really don't know about that one. Now, one other thing I was thinking about was, do I actually go ahead and put pillars across the roof like I've done in so many other rooms, and then also put pillars in the tube itself? I think if I did go with pillars, I might have to change these lights, but if I change these ones, then I've got to change these ones too. Or maybe I just don't really care about the lights and just leave them, and then wherever the station ends up and these lights end up, it just doesn't really matter. So yeah, but I really need to think about what I'm going to do with these pillars if I am going to put them in. Okay, so for these pillars I was thinking about doing something a little bit different to what I usually do. So usually I would probably just delete, let's say, a couple of blocks here, and then just go ahead and put in some of these beam blocks in the center, and then put some sort of shroud around the side of it. Very similar to what I'd done in the hangar. So I could do something like that, but instead what I'm thinking about doing is actually putting in some sort of like brace instead. So maybe from here we can go up to the roof, and it has like pillars that kind of anchor on the side of the room and then go all the way up to the roof. So let me just fix up these blocks here. Okay, so I'm probably going to start in the middle here, so about here I guess. Alright, so we'll start from this point here. Okay, let's grab this color, and first I want to give these ones a go and see if they will kind of get us up there in a reasonable fashion. Okay, well that's probably not going to work. Yeah, it's so shallow, it's pretty much hitting the train, and these two kind of meet up in the middle. Yeah, it does. I don't know, it probably would actually miss the train barely, but I think that's a little bit too close for comfort. I could try these blocks, the same blocks but just the other way around, so it's kind of going up that way, but then I think the angle would be so shallow that it would end up inside the wall. So I think instead I might try just some 45-degree beam blocks and go all the way up, and then we'll see what that looks like. Well, I almost got it done, but this light's in the way. Problem is, if I get rid of that, you won't really be able to see it. So maybe we'll see if this side... No, this side should be fine. So I should be able to place one of these things here, and then we can actually see what it looks like when it's fully connected to the roof. And there we go. So I think it looks pretty good. I might actually place some more in the center here. So what I'm going to do is get rid of all this stuff, because honestly I don't think it really looked that good, so we'll just get rid of it. Alright, let's change the color. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I want the pillars to kind of be away from the platform where you're actually walking onto a train, because it probably doesn't make sense having a massive pillar there. So what I'm going to do is probably place them where these black blocks are. So we shall go ahead and place them exactly there and on either side. Okay, so that's most of these things put in. I just need to go ahead and actually remove the excess lights where they kind of interact. Also, I've had to get rid of this block behind here, so I think maybe I could change it out for something else. So maybe we could get rid of this piece here and just change it out with just a regular beam block, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we could just change it to like a T-junction block like that. So then it kind of looks like it's embedded into the wall a bit better. So I don't think these pillars are over the top, although I do need to fix this lighting. So I'll probably fix that, and then yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this. I'll probably end up putting this into the final design. Okay, so I went ahead and I moved all of these lights to in between these pillars. It actually turns out that, and this is completely unintentional, but all of these pillars are actually 5 blocks apart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, they are all perfectly 5 blocks apart. So I just put a single light in between those, and that just kind of neatens up this area a little bit. I know it is a little bit dark in these areas, but I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in some corner lights on the edge of these pillars. So probably something like that, and then just make them like dark orange. So I'm actually pretty happy with how that turned out. I may just flare out this little part here maybe. But I mean, you know, overall I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I don't think there's too many more things that I want to do to this until I actually build it in survival. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyway guys, really hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time.